And welcome to another episode of Cyber Papa's New Battlefields. I'm the Cyber Papa, Eric Belardo, here with you guys. Today we have an exciting episode. So if that's what you're here for, stay tuned. And welcome back. Thank you very much for being out there and joining us and supporting us on this channel. I'd love for you guys, if you're on Facebook, please make sure you go to this site so we can see your comments on the live stream. So hit that like button and subscribe to us here in the channel. So I want to go ahead and introduce my co-host here, Mr. Cyber Warrior. Cyber Warrior, how are you doing?
It's another beautiful day. Another beautiful day. We've made it. Hey, look, it's Thursday and tomorrow's Friday, which means one day closer to the weekend. And
Right.
I think between yesterday's show and today's show and then tomorrow's show, it's just we've got so much going on. It's going to be amazing.
It's certainly becoming a big thing. And I want to thank the people that are out there. I want to thank Mary for joining us. I want to thank Sultan for joining us from Poland here in the show. Daniel, look, he's busting out of his pants with hype. I like it. Say hello to DJax Alpha. They're an Alpha Cybersecurity. Go ahead and check out his channel. Got some awesome stuff, and I'll be on his channel here in December. So we've got Andrew out there. So all of you and Shiny joining us today. So thank you all very much. Today we're blessed and excited that we've got Mr. Brian Lozada, the CISO of HBO Max. So let's bring him in. Hey, Brian, how are you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How are you? Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday to you. We're almost there.
We're almost there. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Really excited about the show tonight.
Great. Thank you very much. So, Brian, can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself? Tell them, what do you do, and take it away.
Thanks again. I'm Brian Lozada. I have the absolute privilege of leading the security team for HBO Max. HBO Max being the Warner Media direct-to-consumer streaming platform that's been out since about May of 2020. We just recently expanded our platform out to Latin America in the 39 markets across Latin America and the Caribbean. So excited about that. And in a few weeks, we are bringing HBO Max to Europe. So we'll be in certain countries in Europe on October 26th. So really excited about doing that.
So tell me, how did you get into security? Tell us about your journey.
Everybody's got a journey coming into security, right? So look, I started my kind of like my security career in the Marine Corps. I'm a veteran. I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there that are veterans as well. Started in the Marine Corps. I was actually not in cyber in the Marine Corps. I was a radio operator. See, there he goes with the Army hat. Right? Listen, go Navy. Go Navy. You look at the Navy's O-line, man. They're all Marines. So, I started my career in the Marine Corps. Was a radio operator. And then as I transitioned out of the Marine Corps and looking to get into technology, I wanted to just computer science. That's all I wanted to do, was really get into comp sci, do something like that. And cyber was really starting to come out. This is like 2004, 2005. Not that it was starting to come out, but it was getting a little bit more popular within the business sector. And I had someone that said, "Hey, you would be perfect for looking at this kind of environment. You're structured, you're disciplined, you like looking for problems and solving them. This might be an area for you." And started getting into cyber right after the Marine Corps, and it just kind of like took off. My very first civilian job, though, coming out of the Marine Corps, is with Accenture. And that was a very unique transition for me, because coming in from the Marine Corps, trying to get into Accenture, man, Marine Corps they don't teach you soft skills that
They
you
don't teach
need to be
soft
at Accenture. So that was a pretty big awakening for me, but it gave me a lot of good experience to work on my soft skills and work at transitioning kind of like that technical risk into a business risk. So that's how I kind of like came up. And I started through Marine Corps to Accenture, and then shortly after that I went to my first startup, which was Vonage. You guys remember Vonage?
I remember Vonage.
Remember the commercials? They were hysterical. Those are the commercials, right? That's how I originally got like hooked on Vonage. But I was there, man, when Vonage was small and not many folks were actually using them.
Bridgewater, New Jersey, right?
They're in New Jersey, Homedale, New Jersey, which I am in New Jersey, right? So that was another big, thing for me to there. I don't want to commute to the city at that particular point. So that was my first startup. Kind of, it wasn't really a startup at that time. It was a little bit more mature. It was about to go public, so it was just fun being there. And then I mean, just continued to transition after that. After Vonage, did a few things. Went into media and entertainment. Went to Sony Music. Was at Sony Music for a few years. Stayed in the media entertainment space, and then went to Condé Nast, which was like Vogue, GQ, Allure, Vanity Fair. Those magazines. That was an interesting time frame. And here I am now at HBO Max. I had a few stops in between, but here at HBO Max, I appreciate the media and entertainment sector. I think it aligns better to my personality, that disruptive kind of like personality and that out of the box thinking personality. Media companies are like that, right? So I've always gravitated towards those type of cultures and shops.
I was in the government sector. But when I finished my service in 2000, I moved over to working in DC, and I was in a company called EDS.
Oh, electronic data systems. They used to do the Navy Marine Corps intranet. I totally remember that. That was the largest. That was a complicated system, but that was one of the largest like intranets in the world at that time.
I wrote the RFI and RFP, and I was there the night that they won it. So that
Yeah.
was 2000. Yeah.
No,
And
I totally remember NMCI, man. Like, I remember there was a pretty big hub in Norfolk, NOB. So I had a lot of friends over there that were working on that. And as I was transitioning out of the Marine Corps, actually, I was working as a consultant for NMCI while I was still finishing my degree. And the only reason they hired me, I still had a clearance.
Yeah.
It was easy. I was like, yeah, you, come on.
It's easier
You're
to
perfect.
train than it is to get a clearance, and cheaper.
Oh, man, totally cheaper, man.
so I spent 20 years in the DC rat race that we had there, moving from company to company. So I think I've been to most of the Boeing, Lockheed, all the contractors. So that's how I came up myself. Some of our viewers know my story. So, but we're here for you. So when you got into cyber, said, what are the areas that you started? Did you start in the blue? Did you start in the red? Or GRC? What did you start in?
Enterprise, man. It was all on the enterprise side. I started really looking at uh, installing AV on kind of like machines and stuff like that. I really started on the enterprise side, looking at the user aspect out, right? I wasn't really working on too many applications or business facing applications. So that's where I actually started. I quickly transitioned over to application side, though. I think that was more, to me, it was more exciting. At Accenture, I had the opportunity to visit all these different companies that had these unique programs that they were trying to build to solve their unique kind of like business problems, and then bring security consultants in to say these are the type of things that we would do better with the program. So if you think about it, man, we were red teaming before it was called red teaming, right? It was really looking at that program and reverse engineering it, adding security where it needed to be to facilitate it. So that was how I started really thinking how much power cyber really had in a business perspective. And look, this is like 2005, 2006, nowhere near where it is today. Like it was, we were still trying to fight for a seat at the table, right, back then.
I started in 90, and it wasn't even called cyber. It was it was a branch of IT, you guys secure stuff, so tell us, where are you from? Where did you grow up at?
Look, I was born in New York, upstate New York, around the Albany area, and then at a very young age, I actually moved to Puerto Rico. Grew up in Puerto Rico. I graduated high school there, so I spent a good 12 years of my adolescence there. And then came back to the States. Joined the Marine Corps and went to college. But I would say that if you say where you're from, I'd say between New York and Puerto Rico is kind of like my hometowns.
So, okay, so where in Puerto Rico were you?
Well, there was two spots, Rio Piedra and then Guaynabo. Those were the two main cities that I kind of like lived in those 12 years that I was out there.
So, for our viewers, Brian and I were talking over the weekend, and it turned out that his high school and my high school were about a mile away from each other
That's
in,
correct.
in Rio Piedra, Puerto Rico. So
That's
that was
correct.
really funny. Small world.
Very small world. And look, we both ended up in cyber. Must be something in the water out there, right?
And then we've got somebody in our audience that is from
Ponce. All
Puerto
right.
Rico.
Love it.
All right. So what are the challenges, looking at the media companies? What are the challenges that you guys have at HBO Max? And, what are the threats that you see a lot? Let's start from the outside in. What are the things that you guys look at?
I think the thing for us, when you look at this is all streaming providers, not just probably like specific to us. It's like there's two type of threat actors that like typically come after us. One is they're going after content. Content is king. They want to see if they could get that content without having to pay for it. So we see a lot of that activity. And the other side is targeting our consumers, right? And seeing how they could leverage our consumers to get into the experience and then rip that content, right? So I think we see a lot of that. Uh, I think on the consumer side, look, HBO Max has, right now we're 67.5 million customers across the globe. That is a huge opportunity for threat actors to kind of like look at and say, how can they leverage one of those, one of our awesome customers to kind of like come into the experience. So we're constantly looking at ways to improve the experience. And then the security team's mandate is to secure that customer experience. When you look at any streaming provider, right? You look at the two flows that really make up an experience. It's customers coming into the experience, they're logging in, they're selecting their content, right? And then you also have, once they select that content, is that content going out? So we look at how do we take the infrastructure and applications that support that experience and where security belongs, right? So that's a key for us. When it comes to the consumer side, like how does security play a role in that consumer experience? Putting friction into the experience is always frowned upon. We don't want it to be very hard for our customers to come in, select the right content that they want to enjoy, and get streamed. But at the same time, we have to put some sort of friction in when we feel like there's a threat, right? Or that we feel like there's something that could be impacting it. So it's always a balance, I guess, on the consumer side, is what is the right friction to introduce into the experience that again puts a stiff arm towards the threat actors, but allows the legitimate customers to kind of like come in and enjoy the content. So a lot of our time is focused on looking at that customer experience. Security team, we are absolutely obsessed with the customer experience. That's all we live and breathe. Like every morning, like everybody gets a report and says, this is how it was over the last 24 hours and how our customers reacted to our our platform, or what went bad and where we can make an improvement. And we focus on that. We really drive that customer experience side.
So I've noticed, and I'm sure you have, and everybody else in the realm, an uptick in a lot of breaches and things of that nature. But one of those has been credential theft and losing accounts, losing access to accounts, and things like that. And me and Eric have done a few shows where we talked about even in social media where it's almost impossible to get your account back or get assistance or support. What are you guys doing to kind of help in that regard? Because you know as well as I do how easy it is for someone to get phished or do something to lose access and then even lose money for everything. So what are some of the things you've put in place to help get that customer experience and help them get back to what is their rightful account?
No, that's a great question. So the account takeover space, I mean, threat actors go after this a lot, right? They find these dumps of password, compromises, and then they use those credentials against any basic platform that could accept these. So we've done a few things, and we've said it publicly. There's a blog out there that we talked about a few months ago on one of the things that we did for this particular case. So we do use Google's reCAPTCHA Enterprise within the experience. So if you look at the old school reCAPTCHA, it's like selecting all the bicycles, all the crosswalks. We couldn't do that. That wasn't something that we were going to be able to put into the experience and introduce that much friction. The reCAPTCHA Enterprise version is invisible. Right. So it allows, customers to come in. But if it detects these bots that are doing these ATO attacks, it does put in a friction for those threat actors. And we've seen a dramatic dip in a lot of the ways that has impacted our customers. Prior to that, candidly, like everybody goes through that. Everybody had that ATO issue, and we would have customers call in and say, wait, I didn't change my password. I didn't do, something like this. How come I can't get into my account? So, putting that change in, and again, there's a blog out there. One of my lead security engineers, his name is Randy Jingaliski, just phenomenal talent. He was one that actually put this in, really worked with the product organization to get it in, and we saw a dramatic dip in that type of attack. So that's one thing. There's two other features that we've just recently introduced into the product, and that is a one-time password. Right. So now if you're going through the experience and you're about to change your email address, we, put some validation on that. We send you a notification. Hey, is this you? Are you really changing your email address? Right. Same thing on if you come into the experience and you try to change your password. Right. We want to challenge that and make sure that it is you and not a threat actor trying to take over your account and one, steal content, but two, they could get into to leveraging that to stream somewhere else, so like get a financial kind of like gain from it, because these threat actors are smart with that.
Do you find it a feasible way? So when I had like Hulu Live TV a few years, like I think it was like a year or two ago, they had GeoIP location tracking. So if you can only be logged in from your IP or
Yep.
change your IP so many times
Yep.
within a certain amount of time. Do you find that it's something that would be beneficial in these situations to where you can't be logged in from, say, you know, Pittsburgh and New York at the exact same time? Like that just would make no sense.
True. I think it wouldn't make any sense. I agree with that, but it depends. Looking at the family dynamics now, man, like how many profiles exist in an account? Like my oldest son, he's on my Netflix profile, he's on my Hulu profile, right? And he's already moved out, so he could be logging in from somewhere else. So I think the platforms need to be intelligent enough to say, hey, what profile is tied to this, and where do we actually do that, right? So I think that it does help, but you got to get it to a point that it doesn't introduce that frustration to a customer.
Right.
Right. So I'll give you an example. I'm a Hulu Live subscriber as well. I cut cable off a few years ago. I think everybody's going down that route and going down with just streaming only. And I have internet dedicated to my office, and then I have internet dedicated to the rest of my house. But I try to use Hulu, my same Hulu account, on either one of those, and I get that same thing. Hey, you've already changed your IP address 4 times. Like you got to log back out. It's incredibly frustrating, right? Because it's the same account, and I have two internet providers in my account. I know Hulu didn't optimize and say, hey, how many customers are going to have two internet providers, and we need to optimize for that. But those are the type of things that need to get thought about when you're looking at your customer experience and understanding your customer really, and trying to understand how much your customer has these dynamics. I think work from home is going to change a lot of this as well, right? I think a lot of folks now, this is the new world. So home internet providers or you're going to have two separate internet connections coming in, because one is going to be dedicated to work and home. I think a lot more of that is going to happen. So I think streaming providers like HBO Max and the rest of the industry, we're gonna have to start thinking about that differently.
Yeah, yeah, and
So
I
we
think
get the
pricing
first
has to meet that
question.
too. But there's a question down below there for you.
How do you mitigate against insider threats? Look, that's a great question. Like we have insider threats has so many different definitions, right? Think about it, right? Like an insider threat could be a threat actor that popped one of your HR employees and is using those credentials to try to do something, right? So how we look at the insider threat vector is we look at the critical path of the experience, like I mentioned earlier, consumers coming in, content going out. The teams that support those two flows, we have close monitoring on that. And it's not so much to put blocks in or stop them from doing their job. It's just to understand that behavior and see where there could be something that deviates and where we need to maybe get intervene or do something like that. So that's one area of kind of like the insider threat. I think the other thing, and back to the remote work, now that everybody's working from home, it's going to be harder for us to say, this is for sure an insider threat, man. More and more folks are going over their home internet, they're going over their home machines to come in and do their job. I think we need to get smarter as security practitioners on what exactly we're going to be looking for so that we could add value in protection of the internal employee user experience, right? I think, look, we all live in the browser, whether you're in the office or you're not in the office, we all live in the browser. So I think we need to start thinking about what other security, controls or visibility we could put in the browser, whether you're at home, in the office, on your phone, in the Heathrow Airport in London, trying to get something done, where we could put some security to facilitate that experience for the employees to get their job done.
What about the inside threat of, like in the past, HBO has actually suffered some breaches from inside about content in cell. How do you protect, your golden nuggets, if you
Yeah.
will, within the the HBO Max bubble?
Yeah, content is king, right? And everybody wants to get kind of like their hands on it. So there's a few things that we do. We do look at how our content is not only stored but transcoded, where it's actually located. We control a lot of the access around that. Um, how that content is delivered out to the consumer, it's a complicated process, which most security practitioners, we don't like a lot of complicated things in the past because it introduces a lot of risk. But at the same time, for these type of things, I think it helps, right? It helps understanding that things need to pass through a certain phase to actually get out to the consumer. And it helps us really say we can profile that differently. We can make a behavior profile off of that, right? So that's one angle. The other angle is we do a lot of kind of like watermarking. So we understand who specifically has access to certain things for like pre-release material. So if watermarking is a very it's an older technology. I used to use this at Sony Music 12 years ago, right? So it was something that you would put towards content. So if Brian's watermark got compromised, you'd be like, Brian's the one that messed up and got this leak somewhere, right? It goes right back to your your user ID. So it gets you some attribution on some of where that the content is being touched, manipulated, and then essentially delivered out to the customer.
Yeah, definitely. And there's another question here. That's not the question I was looking at, but
I hope you guys saw that trailer. I've seen the trailer like 5 times already. I'm like, I can't wait.
Look, I'm going to be honest. My wife refuses to watch anything with Game of Thrones after season 8.
All right.
Oh,
As soon as I saw the knife, I was like, I gotta watch it.
yeah, no, it's exciting. I think we dropped that trailer like 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah.
But we're totally excited about that. So to answer your question, I don't get to see it early. I wish it was one of the perks, but we don't. We got to wait just like the rest of the customers. Besides ATO attacks, what is the largest attack vector HBO Max deals with? So that's a great question. So I'd say looking at how threat actors try to come after our content, I think is the other big threat, right? And you're saying, well, how big of a threat is that? Depends, man. Like this year, we did something very unique with HBO Max, right? All of the date and day theater releases that Warner Brothers had, they came out on the same day for HBO Max, right? So that's huge. Content creators, they trust us. They want to be able to give us their content so that we can distribute it. And if it gets out there and leaked 3 or 4, hours after we put it on the platform, it impacts their ability to have their own customer acquisition funnel for their content. So that is a pretty big attack surface for us. How do we look? You're not going to stop pirates. I don't think anybody's ever going to be able to stop it. I don't see there that being something that we really want to tackle. But what I do want to do is I want to put some friction in so that we make these pirates earn it. You know what I mean? We make them actually come in and get it, differently, right? Wait the whole runtime before they're putting it out on kind of like torrent sites and stuff like that. So that's a big challenge that we're facing. It's a fun kind of like problem to solve because of just the amount of technology and the attack surface, how big it is. So to look at that, but those are the type of things that we see as another big vector for us.
Yeah, and I would venture a guess. Do you? And I haven't looked just because working from home, I haven't had a need to do it. Does HBO Max have the ability to download something as you're watching or whatever, so that you can watch it offline?
We do.
So
We do.
I would assume now, as you were talking about watermarks and stuff like that, I'm assuming there's security features built in to where you can't necessarily put that out there without someone tracking it back to the account that downloaded it, correct?
That is correct. So for the watermarks, it's strictly for the internal ones, but the internal employees, we don't watermark anything externally, right? For consumers, but for downloads, we do allow customers to download it. We have it. You could download it on any one of your devices. There is a TTL on that, so it lasts on your device for only a certain amount of time. But it is something that just helps the customer if they're getting on a plane, they want to download it. It offers that type of feature. Obviously, threat actors are going to try to take advantage of that, but there are certain things within the app that goes on the devices that gives us some sort of protection.
Mm-hmm.
So that, removing it off the device is not something that is a trivial task to
Right.
do.
Right.
So it kind of slows that aspect down. Not saying it's impossible, but it's not something that anyone can kind of like get into.
Right. Right. And yeah, and that's what I was thinking, is a lot of along the lines of, even when you looked at the first movies that were being ripped and uploaded and things like that, there were a lot of security features in that regard that stopped it from being ripped and being able to use elsewhere, whether that be country code or whatever the case may be. There were things put in place. So that's why I was curious of, like, I didn't even know about the TTL because, like I said, I don't download it. So I didn't know there was a time to live on those things.
Yeah, and those across all the streaming platforms, you'll see that they all put TTLs on their downloads. The other thing is you have to for kind of like content licensing purposes, right? With some content that's licensed for the U.S., if you're downloading it and you want to play it once you land overseas, once your IP connects and you see it, but like, wait, this content isn't allowed to be streamed. So there are providers that do that as well, that introduce that, right? So that's just part of the game.
Yeah, that actually happened to me the last time I went to Europe. And I had downloaded a couple movies. I got to the hotel. I plugged. Oh, you can't watch it, but I downloaded this.
Yeah.
No.
So it's just that licensing aspect. As a CISO, does your IAM and TIAM practices fall within the security or the business? Both. That's a great question, right? So IAM, it does fall within both, and I'm going to give you reasons why, right? So on the business does get to decide who has access to some of that content for they need to complete their job. What security does is we help facilitate to make sure that IAM or that access policy is honored and it is accurate and it is something that is not being abused. We do challenge where we feel like it needs to be, but we don't. The way I run the security team or the way the security team operates within HBO Max, we're not dictators. We're not going to tell you like, hey, you must, you have to, you shall. We're here to problem solve. Like business, tell me what exactly you need. What problem are we solving? We're going to collectively work with you on that. And a lot of that has to do with that permissioning and accessing. So that's on the business side. Within the infrastructure team and our SRE, our DRE, and our developer partners, same thing. right? We work with them as we're starting to develop and build within AWS. We've said publicly, we're an AWS, native product. So we work heavily within that sphere, and we work with those teams and just how to set up those policies, right? How to operate quickly, how to shift a lot of that back into an infrastructure as code perspective. So we take that thought process away from the developer. And it's not that we don't trust the developers. That's not it. No, we absolutely trust our developers, but we want to take that process out of there, that problem solving issue out of there. We want them to just go out there and solve customer problems. Grab what you need to. These are the IAM policies that you need within your environment to operate. Just grab and go. We don't want them to have to think and really go through that. It'll slow them down and kind of frustrate them in dealing with security. Great question, Andrew.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of those things. So I have a question. It's probably more
You know what? I will ask that question. I don't know. Will HBO Max and all have an all 80s cult classic movie collection celebration? I think it's absolutely merited. I am actually wearing an 80s it says negative Ghost Rider, the pattern is full, right?
Yes,
right?
I say that all the time.
Yes, I'm a huge Top Gun fan. So I'm going to ask the business that question, Shiny, for sure, and I'm going to definitely drop your name when I do.
So my question is, and this is purely from a business aspect and from the way of how CISOs have been viewed within different organizational structures. Some CISOs fall under still the CIO or something along those lines. They don't actually have a seat at the board, right? So their input has to still clear through somebody before it goes to the CEO. Within HBO Max, do you have a seat at the table, or do you still have to pass your views and your hey, I authorize this type of thing up the chain through another person?
I have to say that at HBO, and I'm incredibly grateful that leadership is an incredible supporter of security. I have the ability to go right to the EVP of all of HBO Max and talk security, say these are the type of things that we want to put in, and we don't get that, hey, you have to go through this bureaucracy to actually do it. HBO Max, the leadership absolutely values security, and they want it to be part of that customer experience. So I've been very fortunate. In other parts of my career, not so much. It's an uphill battle. I've always had to fight for that budget, fight for that seat at the table, right? I think as security practitioners, we're problem solvers, right? But two, it's the art of persuasion. We're always trying to persuade, the powers that be to give us budget and resources to solve those problems, right? So we're always trying to hustle to get that ability to and those resources to solve. So as security practitioners, we're all persuasive individuals, right? We have to be. I think it is definitely there. But I do have to say that at HBO Max, it hasn't been the case. I've whatever I've proposed, whatever I've brought up to leadership, they've totally endorsed. They've supported. They have publicly supported security at all hands, right? I think a good example is the first time I got introduced to the organization when I first started at HBO Max. EVP introduces me and gives me 15 minutes of the all hands, and I kind of gave introduction of the program and how we wanted to interface with the business. And then I put that EVP right on the spot, and I said, listen, we're going to host a capture the flag, and I want your 7th grade picture as the flag, just to draw up kind of like excitement. And look, he agreed. I didn't even tell him I was going to do this. I just put him on the spot in front of everybody, and he was so gracious, man. He absolutely agreed. He said, yep, you could have my 7th grade picture. Whoever wins the capture the flag is going to see a 7th grade picture of him. I gave up my 7th grade picture as well. But that type of support from leadership, man, it's very rare. It is very rare. And when you have leadership that does that, it's just welcoming, man. It is absolutely welcoming.
So now I'm going to throw you a different non-technical, but in that same vein, how has your Hispanic heritage helped you throughout your career? I turned it into a positive here. How has it helped you throughout your career? And how is that Hispanic heritage and Latino heritage that we have helped you in your business?
That's a great question. I think being of Hispanic heritage, being Latino, I think welcoming diversity of thought into the cyber realm is so important. It is so important. Listen, like when you look at security teams, if they're all cut from the same cloth, right? What happens, man? You become very predictable, and a predictable force is a defeatable force.
And it's an
Okay,
echo chamber. It's all the same.
it's
The
all the
echo.
same. So you bring in more diversity of thought, you bring in that different perspective. I think it helps in problem solving. I think it helps in looking at the problem differently than how it's traditionally being looked at. So I think it has absolutely helped me. I think it has helped me attract the right talent as well to come in and really see that, we do welcome diversity. We do want that in cyber. We do want that across the problem solving realm of technology. So it has definitely been a huge benefit in my career for sure.
So how diverse is the workforce in the security side of the house of HBO Max?
Oh, it's incredibly diverse right now. It is. We have Latino, we have Indian, we have American, we have across the sphere right now. We have African American, so we have a very good diverse group, male, female, and that's not just in security, man. I have to say, like HBO Max has one of the most diverse workforces I have ever had the privilege of working for. I kid you not. It is really, really, really been just awesome to see it. It's embraced. It's really, really pushed at HBO Max and Warner Media as a whole. Like we really do welcome that diversity. Does any of your influence spill over into HBO Latino? Oh man, that's a great question. I have met a few folks over the HBO Latino folks or team over there. If you're thinking about the content side, no, I would love to drive some of those conversations, but it doesn't.
So you need to pitch the Hispanic CISO show.
Yeah, yeah,
There
that
you
could be
go. There
something.
you go.
That could be something that we do pitch, but yeah, I haven't had the opportunity to talk about content over there on the
Yeah,
HBO
real
Latino side.
real CISOs of hey,
And listen, like there are a lot of CISO Latinos right there, man. Like we have Tomas Maldonado. He's the CISO for the NFL, right? You look at Emilio Escobar. He used to be the CISO for Hulu. He is now the CISO over at Datadog. I mean, we do represent a lot of that
So with
security.
with you already being at HBO Max as a CISO, do you have connections with these other CISOs that they can come on the show also?
Uh, Great question. Great question. I can make some intros for sure.
let's make it fun for him. So first, let's get him hooked. So, all right. So one of the things that we do, and I think you've already seen a lot of the stuff that we're doing with Raices Cyber is bringing the Hispanic, Latino, Latina into the cybersecurity world. The Aspen Digital report came out about 4 weeks ago and said, there's only 4% representation of Hispanic, Latino, Latina in the cybersecurity workforce.
Wow.
And that number shocked me.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
really, really shocked me. But it's 4%. I have it taped on my wall right there just to keep me fire to keep on going. 4% Latino, 8% Asian, 9% Black in the representation in the cybersecurity work. So one of the things that we did was we formed Raíces Cyber, which is an organization for Hispanic, Latino, Latinas in cyber. Um, do you guys have any organizations within now that we just celebrated Hispanic
We're still
diversity?
celebrating. It's still October 15th. Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you guys do for that?
Great question. So we have a fantastic director of communication. She is also Latina. She's a Latinx as well. She raised it across the org. just really gave that awareness to the organization. So we do participate in conferences like Black is Tech, and representing the Latinx within that conference as well. So we are really trying to push to bring in more diversity, more Latinx, more black cyber professionals, or just technologists in general into Warner Media and HBO Max. So we do support it, and we do have programs that try to welcome that and bring them in. And if you follow us on on LinkedIn, Twitter, you follow on our social media, we are always talking about it. We're always putting out blast about how to come in and talk to us about the diversity and what we're looking for in candidates, specifically in the Latinx and Black communities.
So you're interviewing a lot of people.
I am.
When you interview Hispanics, Latinos, Latinas, Latinx in there, you've got really strong representation in some, but you probably have seen some challenges. What do you think is challenges facing the Hispanics coming into the field?
I think that the biggest challenge, I think that it faces the Latinx community right now is just awareness, knowing what to actually go to environment for, go to an organization to kind of represent what you're going to bring, how you're going to bring that diversity of thought into the programs. I think selling that is something that probably not many folks do. They're going in there saying, hey, we could solve problems and we could be technologists. But when you sell the idea of your diversity, your independent thought within your problem solving skills, that's huge. I think CISOs appreciate that. And I think Latinos really need to embrace that. We all think differently. Everybody thinks differently, not just Latinos, but everybody does. Selling that aspect of it and really bringing that to the interview, bringing that to your problem solving skills, showing leadership and management you could do that, would be absolutely welcomed across.
So I got a question on that note. Do you think, and again, I bring this up because me, as being me, I like to bring a little questions in that are a little bit harder. Do you think that in these situations, some of the problems arise where instead of saying because of my upbringing or where I come from or whatever, I have this diverse thought process, too much focus gets put on, well, I'm diversity, right? I just look different, as opposed to because of where I come from, I think differently, which means I'm going to have a different way to problem solve, bounce ideas off of, and do things differently, as opposed to you may, and then we can come to the table and figure out what works best, versus the whole, well, you need to hire me because I look different.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Do you think
totally
that's part of the issue?
Totally. I agree with where you're going with it. Yeah, totally. I think you want to be able to sell that you can think differently because of your upbringing, but not make a decision just because of your upbringing, right? That's not it. You want to be able to say that the experiences that you had in your upbringing has helped you in getting to that point in your career where you could solve problems differently. And I think that's where we really, as a community, as an industry, we need to help those folks that are up and coming in the industry now to help sell that way, right? Not go in there and say, hey, I want to be, hired because of my diversity. No, I want to be hired because of my diversity of thought and my experience that comes in to solve problems, problem solving.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I'm going to record that diversity of thought. That's going to be a new.
And I think we need to get more to that point. We talk so much about diversity, but not necessarily the fact that diversity isn't just based on looks. It's we all have a different upbringing. We all look different. We all think different. We all have this, and even veterans. And this is why, as much as I love the fact that companies are going out of their way to hire veterans, if you bring in too many, a lot of us are going to start to think the same, and we're going to bond and have this collection. You still need those that have never served to bring us back to reality of, well, guess what? People that have never served think this way. So we need to kind of, change tact and change how we address the situation.
I 1,000% agree. I'm a veteran myself. I know both of you are veterans. So I align to the veteran community. I like hiring veterans. I do have an Air Force veteran on the team. He also happens to be Latino. But I totally agree with you. If we fill out the whole team with just veterans, we're all going to think the same. And again, to my earlier point, a predictable force is a defeatable force.
Yep.
See,
Yep.
the next one,
Exactly.
Eric, the next time I'm bringing nothing but Marine Corps gear. That's it, man. I'm bringing nothing but Marine Corps gear, man. You're throwing it down. The gauntlet's been thrown, dude.
Yep. Diversity of thought.
Yeah.
For sure. And I completely agree. And I think that's something we definitely need to get around to more.
Yeah, and if you have too many veterans, HR gets involved very.
Very quick.
Yes.
They get mad.
We all have, veterans. We have a very dark but awesome sense of humor. So, yeah, HR gets called very quickly.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, your Hispanic heritage and all the things that you've done, military, veteran, that helped you grow up to, with your leadership style. So, being a Hispanic leader, what does being a Hispanic leader mean to you?
Great question, man. I think one, it's the opportunity to actually showcase what we can do as leaders. I think that's important to do. I think it's a responsibility once you get to this point where you are a leader and a Hispanic leader of what to actually showcase that and really help branch that out so that it welcomes more opportunity for more Hispanic leaders to come into to this space. So I think that's something that I strive for. It's something that I'm very proud of, and I like to showcase. Right, I really like to push the envelope when it comes to my leadership style.
Awesome. So anything else you would like to add to our team here?
No, listen, thank you very much for this opportunity. I've had a lot of fun doing this. This is great. I think we need more of this interaction. I think we need more of these just conversations that are just candid and just talking about what's needed in the space, either from a technical diversity and just thought process perspective. This is it helps the up and coming cyber practitioners, folks that are going to either work with us or work for us or help us solve problems in the future. They need to see more of this. Right, back in the day when I first started, security was very siloed across different companies. We never talked to each other. And now we're all coming together. Look, it takes a village. Absolutely takes a village.
And one of the things that we talked to another CEO in one of our shows is that because we are a village, we need to start acting like a village. So HBO, DuPont, and other companies that we work, we need to start sharing these experience. We need to start sharing, if one is getting a threat, we need to start sharing that amongst the other people because they're going to get hit.
I agree. I 1,000% agree. I love that process as well, or that thought where you're going to collectively as a security industry. When we take our problems that we're all seeing to either vendors or folks that are supporting us, we're stronger together. And we're saying there's 5 or 6 huge organizations that are driving towards this same resolution because they're all facing the same threat. We need to go at it together. We can't go at it individually. I think we're stronger and we can make a really big difference if we do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, just as a perfect example, a couple weeks ago with the print nightmare, every company was developing their own way of fixing it, but nobody was sharing that.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
would be a great thing to have, like a think tank where CISOs, directors, something when something happens, being able to kind of join a group and say, "Hey, what are you guys doing in HBO? What are you guys doing in Hulu? What are you guys doing in Sony?" That would be wonderful too. If somebody's out there that wants to create that,
Do it. Do it. It's totally an opportunity. Totally an opportunity.
and for the security side of the house, in the diversity side of the house, we started the organization. We'd love for you to come back and talk to our members and part of this organization, help us grow this. So please.
I would welcome the opportunity. Would love to be part of the organization, help grow it in any way I can. Please count on me.
So before we, I don't know how close Eric sees we are getting on the time, but before we do anything else, on the method of communicating and talking as a streaming service provider, and as the CISO of HBO Max, do you actively try to reach out to like Hulu and Netflix
Oh, totally.
and these others, and do you guys collaborate even independently, because you're going to see the same threats, you're going to see the same issues, whether it be ransomware or ATO or whatever. You have the same threat model, right? Like the same risk involved. So do you guys reach out and kind of talk to each other about the ATPs?
We do. We totally do talk across the different streaming providers, and then at the CISO level, we do collaborate quite frequently. And there's always the antitrust issue. Wait, let's not make sure we're not sharing the right, any IP or anything like that. But the threats, the attack surface that we have, and Hulu and Netflix and Amazon, same attack surface, man. Like the threat actors are going after them as well. So if we collaborate and say, this is how the threat actor's coming at me, this is how they're coming at you, I mean, we do get insight on how to better protect ourselves, and more importantly, it gets us ahead of protecting that customer experience, right? And look, we are competitors, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Netflix, and Disney, and all so on and so forth. But in speaking with all of them, man, we are all very much about the content and customer, right? So we all care about that at the end of the day. So it's in everyone's best interest to actually do it,
Right.
And more than likely, a customer of HBO Max is absolutely a customer of Disney Plus and Netflix and Hulu. So it does impact.
Right. And you figure
we cut the cord, and now we have so many that it costs the same mint.
right. And you figure, marketing is truly the competition. Security should never be the competition, because security is all about helping the people. So helping your customer. So talking to Hulu to help your customer or help theirs, it goes hand in hand. Whereas
1,000%.
marketing, you do your thing. You want to compete on price. You want to compete on how you
Exactly.
sell your service. That's one thing. But as far as security, we should never be in competition with other people. We should always be collaborating.
No, I 1,000% agree. Look, if they have some information that can help me better protect my customers, please share. And likewise, if I have anything that's going to help better protect their customers, I am more than willing to share. I want to. Again, I think it helps. It takes a village. It really does take a village.
Yep.
Well, Brian, I'd like to thank you for coming here today and to giving us this time and to giving our audience the time. Please stay in the back, and as we close the show here, so talk to you in a few seconds. So, last word, sir.
Thank you again. I really appreciate the opportunity. Look forward to everyone coming in and enjoying some of the HBO Max content that we have coming out. Stay tuned for House of Dragons coming out in 2022. Succession coming out pretty soon as well. So thanks again for the opportunity, guys.
Thank you.
And there were people talking about Secession in the
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Brian, let me close this up, and I'll be right with you.
Great. Thanks.
All right, Cyber Warrior, final word, sir.
So look, tomorrow we have Lily Clark on Security Happy Hour. So that's going to be amazing. She's got a story to tell, which I think is going to be important to a lot of people, especially those entering or trying to enter cybersecurity. So that's going to be huge. Also, if you have not yet done so, please follow Racist Cyber Org on Twitter and check out yesterday's episode of Raices Live. That would be amazing. And honestly, we've got so many big things to come, Eric. I too am going to be on. Guess what? DJAX Alpha Cybersecurity InfoSec Unplugged in November. So I'm going to be on there in November. I got you beat. Ha!
Evan, I got you, man. I got December. He got November. What the heck, man?
But yeah, so I'm gonna be on there in November. So look, if you haven't checked out InfoSec Unplugged, please head on over. Check that out later on. Check out all the old episodes of Security Happy Hour, new Battlefields. Look, us content creators and cybersecurity professionals are putting out so much information and so much content. We are trying to help everybody understand that. But in order to help everybody, you have to share, like, and comment on the videos, or else others won't see it.
All right. And again, tomorrow's Security Happy Hour on Saturday at 12 o'clock. I'll be going on KevTech IT Support's channel. He's going to be interviewing me for a change. He's interviewing me. So come go check his channel out as well on YouTube. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon. And remember, practice safe cyber.